Chomsky defines the language as a set of sentences made of a finite set of elements. The generative grammar is an explicit description of his point of view. Linguistic competence is, in his opinion, the ability to understand, repeat and produce new utterances. Let's take the English language as an example. To avoid the problem of a broken English, Chomsky introduces the idea of linguistic performance. The linguistic performance is the use of the language in a concrete situation. Chomsky thought that linguistic competence, the knowledge of the form and structure of the language, comes first. Hymes pointed out that the linguistic competence could not explain the actual rules of use. He also highlighted that this competence is not enough to explain a native speaker's knowledge. For this reason, he developed a theory of communicative competence. A language user needs to use the language not only correctly based on linguistic competence, but also appropriately, based on communicative competence. He developed the 4 components of communicative competence: linguistic, sociolinguistic, discourse, and strategic competence. Linguistic competence is the knowledge of the language code, not only grammar, vocabulary but also phonetics and the writing rules. Sociolinguistic competence is the knowledge of sociocultural rules of use. Discourse competence is the knowledge of how to produce and comprehend oral or written texts. Strategic competence is the ability to recognize and repair communication breakdowns before, during, or after they occur. During the 1970s and 1980s, many applied linguists with a primary interest in the theory of language acquisition and the theory of language testing gave their valuable contribution to the further development of the concept of communicative competence. Connolly and Swain understood communicative competence as a synthesis of an underlying system of knowledge and skill needed for communication. They divided the communicative competence in 4 big groups. Grammatical competence, the word and their use. Sociolinguistic competence is the knowledge of sociocultural rules of use. Strategic competence, which is composed of verbal and nonverbal strategies. Discourse competence is the knowledge of how to produce and comprehend oral or written texts. It means coherence and cohesion. The Council of Europe in 2001 developed in detail these communicative competencies to develop its common European frameworks of language.